You're listening to Thursday Night AMP on the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
Brady, what's your thoughts on this stalker who was apparently served a restraining order and his mom refused to take it?
I didn't hear that. That's kind of funny. You know what initiative, what drive he shows. I mean, most wrestling fans they leave it all at the arena, but this guy, he goes the extra step, you know? Super fan. Just a super fan.
A super fan to the degree that he apparently posted testimonials on the internet in video format talking about how he was dedicating things to people. Like, he would say, I'm dedicating this video to AJ Lee, or I'm dedicating this video to Lita. It's like, really, that's just coming off as borderline creepy, especially when you're being given a restraining order. And clearly they were intimidated by this guy when he showed up there, or he wouldn't have gotten shot. That's the part that really sticks with me. It's like, it's one thing to be creepy and weird and dedicate videos to people and talk about how much you admire and love them and kind of be that David Letterman type stalker where you just show up at his home and do weird things. But it's another when you're showing up at somebody's place of work with a knife.
Yeah, and I'm sure that the feces and milk concoctions that he made over the last couple months, I'm sure that had something to do with it as well.
Yeah, you picked up on that detail as well. In fact, Brian Alvarez was trying very hard to dance around those words on Wrestling Observer Live. All he would say is substances were smeared. He wouldn't exactly explain what, but it was not hard to find that information. And apparently he showed up at WWE headquarters in Stamford and wanted a job and didn't take the rejection well.
Did he really? I never heard that.
Yeah, he actually wanted a job. This was part of it. He may have smeared substances on the Performance Center, but apparently he did in Stamford as well.
Well, what kind of a job did he want? Like, I mean, I don't think I saw
Lina around carrying her bags. I don't know.
He didn't look like a wrestler, you know?
No,
I mean, if he wants a job with the VOC Nation, we could use a transcriber.
Yeah, I'm not sure your transcription would read anything other than, I love Lita, I love Lita, I love Lita, marry me, please.
Was Lita the one that he was stalking? Is that who it turned out to be?
He's definitely got some sort of issue with both AJ Lee and Lita. And, of course, the former no longer with the company. She left shortly after Punk did. And the latter only recently back in the spotlight again because of Tough Enough. So I'm gathering he just probably fixates on whoever he sees on TV at the time.
Could be.
Yeah, so very weird situation, and also compelling in the fact that there were many, many witnesses, wrestlers, employees, people that work for WWE who were on the scene when this took place. Very, very shortly thereafter, a directive came down from WWE like, do not talk about this to the press. Talk to law enforcement, give them whatever they need, but other than that, keep your mouth shut.
Absolutely, and I can tell you this, I mean, from, just from my Facebook page, because I am friends with a few of the people down there in the Performance Center, and, just hearing the news as it was kind of breaking throughout the day about there being a shooting outside, and they don't know if anyone was hurt, and someone was taken to the hospital, we don't know who. It was kind of a very scary time within the company, I would assume, because it was certainly a scary time for me kind of observing this stuff happening on Facebook right before me while I was sitting in work the other day. So, I mean, I was very glad to hear that it kind of basically all went down without very much of an incident for the actual employees.
Right. Nobody at the Performance Center got hurt. In fact, the only person that wound up with any problem out of it is the stalker/obsessed fan, because when the security officer shot him, he landed a really good shot because the guy's been in critical condition in the hospital for several days. So if he does survive, and, we don't hope that he dies, we want him to make it through this. But at the same time, he's going to have a lot of questions to answer if he does.
A lot of splaining to do.
Yeah, a lot of splaining, Lucy. You got a lot of splaining to do. And speaking of a lot of splaining to do, we also have Thomas Latimer, better known to some of you as Bram from TNA, who coincidentally is married to somebody who we've seen a lot of from the Performance Center and NXT, but is currently estranged from. He and Charlotte are on the outs, and I don't want to speculate too much about this, but perhaps the reason they're on the outs is very similar to what happened to Mr. Latimer and his current girlfriend, because he was arrested on charges of domestic battery and unlawful imprisonment for allegedly choking his girlfriend, not Charlotte, but his new girlfriend, on the bed in their domestic residence.
Yeah, I mean, to read the description of exactly what went down, it's kind of scary. I certainly, or at least I'd like to believe that Charlotte, Ashley Flair, that she wouldn't put up with that kind of thing, and that she'd obviously, in spite of the fact that he's a big jack dude, I think that she could kind of stand up for herself a little bit. So, I like to think that this is just kind of an isolated incident, and hopefully everything will be okay for all parties involved.
Yes, but again, it makes me suspect that the reason they're estranged and seeking the dissolution of their marriage, which should by all accounts happen within the next month or so, is because, like you said, she wasn't putting up with whatever vibe he was putting out. So he apparently has taken that to a new level with his new girlfriend, and it's just disturbing to see this guy has a repeat history of alleged domestic offense, which I also find disappointing personally, because even though I'm not the most avid Impact Wrestling watcher, he's a guy that stood out to me on the program on the times that I have watched it, and I've thought to myself, he's got an accent that kind of strikes me as unique. He's got a bit of physical personality and charisma to him that makes him seem like a star on this show. Maybe he'll land on his feet when Impact Wrestling goes off the air, but that won't be the case if he's in jail on many multiple charges. He won't be landing anywhere.
Well, I mean, he is such a talented individual that certainly is worth noting, and obviously, we have to kind of let the law kind of do its due process here, and it's kind of silly, not silly, but it's kind of pointless to conjecture too much, because we don't know all the details that are going to come to light, certainly. But you have a great talent like that, somebody who undoubtedly is good enough to be making money wrestling in front of us on TV each and every week, and performing at a very high level. So you hate to see stuff like that happen for anybody, but when it's a promising young star like that, it's you just kind of cross your fingers and just hope that it's a big misunderstanding somehow.
I would like to think it's a big misunderstanding, but it's getting depressing to me how frequently this topic recurs in both wrestling and MMA of partner abuse, spousal abuse, domestic abuse. It seems to me there's just a recurring pattern in the last few months, and maybe it's only because people are less afraid to talk about it now, and there's a greater acceptance of people coming forward than there used to be in this modern day and age. But it just feels to me like there's just this repeated pattern of people who are too into their athletic persona and think they're untouchable, and then extend that over into their personal life.
Well, for sure, yeah, and it's a scary thing, absolutely. And again, I don't want to speak too much on it myself, because I don't happen to know all the facts involved. I just know that right now there's a very talented individual who quite possibly could have his career, his livelihood, maybe even part of his life kind of taken away from him in a way.
Well, that's the really sad part when this happens, is that they have nobody to blame but themselves when this happens, when football players, wrestlers, fighters, whoever get into these situations, they're only hurting themselves. I mean, they're obviously hurting whoever their partner's with, but long term, they're just screwing up their own career. Absolutely.
And you see it all the time.
Yeah, you see it way too much. But as you said, there's no reason to speculate right now. We'll let all the facts come in and the chips fall where they may. But you take all three of these things together in 1 week, and it just feels like the whole wrestling world just got turned upside down the last 3 days.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny, Stevie, because somebody remarked to me, maybe it was Stro, it might have been the Stro from my podcast. He kind of pointed out that it's just an absolutely terrible time for anyone who grew up in the 80s, between Hulk Hogan and Roddy Piper and Dusty Rhodes and Jimmy Snuka and Bill Cosby. It's just, the list goes on and on. It's just like, all of our heroes are either falling or dying. It's just terrible.